I'll introduce Brittanie. She's a construction management professional who has worked with corporate real estate owners and operators to reduce uncertainty as they make decisions on their construction projects. She's passionate about servicing the engineering and construction management industry and has more than 10 years experience in project management. She is the managing director of Constructrr, host of the Constructrr podcast, and a member of the CBC's USA steering committee. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. Just getting my presentation pulled up here. One sec. Yeah, happy to join the CBC conference once again. I was able to join in Paris last year, and I'm grateful Marcus and I had the opportunity to have some time with you then. And hopefully when we get back to some sort of new normal, we'll have an opportunity to spend some time again with you. So Leo mentioned that I'm the managing director of Constructrr, but I'm also the manager of construction and workplace and innovation at American Family Insurance, where I manage a team of project PMs that push me to be better every day. And you will have heard, I think yesterday, from Abel and Gavin around the white paper on construction cash flow. I did contribute to that, so just happy to be part of CBC, and happy to contribute to this discussion about construction and blockchain throughout this time period that I've been part of the USA steering committee. So through Constructrr, that's where I've primarily done my research regarding blockchain, and I've had the podcast since 2016 and spoken on this topic based upon a lot of interviews I've done, use cases and or potential use cases about this technology integrating particularly with IoT and other technologies around workplace and construction. So our discussion is going to really move fairly quickly because I think I just have 15 minutes or so. And we're going to quickly hit on purpose, which I think most people know about, but we're going to focus on microgrids and IoT integration, data aggregation, and a couple of use cases where that's being used. And then last but not least, IoT in workplace, especially during COVID, because there is a need at this time to understand how that integration really can support workplace operations. So really quick, I mean, we've been talking about it today already, and I think everybody here is really familiar, but a couple use cases where I'm going to hone in on are where there's digital identity tied in, much like a lot of people are talking about, like owning your healthcare. I think Anthony Day spoke about that a little bit, and the healthcare, just that data app that tracks alongside your identity. Machine to machine communication, human to human communication, and then last but not least, data aggregation for many different purposes. So gonna try to just have a little fun here and get some responses in the chat. I think most of you probably have IoT devices. How many of you are using those right now? Just put a yes in the chat. I think it's pretty common today with the Apple Watches, and just really normal for that to take place. I think I saw one person respond. So, yep. So, I think it's really common for us to understand what exactly these, let's see if I can advance the slide. Yeah, there we go. It's really common to understand, okay, yep, there's so much connection to IoT these days. It's almost second nature for us. But what you may not pay attention to on a day-to-day basis is how IoT can connect to how you pay your utility bill. I know I'm probably paying too much for energy And for my cousins who do live in the UK, they've been telling me it's just ridiculously enormous of bills, and it just you just have to very much monitor your energy usage. So I think likely most of those who are on the call probably have higher energy bills to pay than I do. But that being said, I think that LO3 has learned something by working with Siemens, really to. Here, I'm getting some Q&A. I want to make sure I see. Oh, okay, some stuff for Steven still coming through. What they've worked with Siemens to basically to develop a blockchain-based energy transaction platform to sell solar energy to their neighbors. So they store the energy from peak collection times and sell when peak demand actually forces utilities companies to sell at a higher rate. So this really adds increased complexity to power grids, but prepares us for the increasing demands for dense populations and the expected challenges associated with it. Robert Klaffis, CEO and Digital Grid Business Unit at Siemens Smart Infrastructure, says that data can now be accessed quickly and easily via existing communication channels. In the central MindSphere cloud, users they can smoothly consolidate, visualize, evaluate data, and if necessary, react quickly. They're really paving the way for truly smart grids. So I think it's a really awesome opportunity to think about energy from a marketplace perspective. It allows IoT connected to that grid on a residential roof to allow for that marketplace to take place, to really to be instated. It allows for real estate companies. It allows for any organization to think through how they might give energy back to the grid, not just through solar, not just through wind energy, could be hydro energy. There's lots of opportunity for this. Another company is digging into this, and they're called XAGE. They've taken advantage of the ability to tap into the power of blockchain and IoT, excuse the pun, but they enable IoT devices to be tamper-proof and have access to secure lines of communication between smart objects, securely managing policy to offering tools that issue instant alerts about suspicious hacking activity. They recently joined the Smart Electric Power Alliance to focus on how basically it can bring IoT devices to the clean energy sector. So if governments aren't going to pursue this marketplace, there's a ton of innovative opportunities for energy production and distribution globally. If you're interested in growing in this particular sector, work with Siemens. I've actually done an interview with Maggie Clout, and they're looking for anyone globally to work with them and use their digital platform to understand the energy transfer that's taking place due to microgrids. And anybody who's interested in jumping on to doing transactions via blockchain, they're looking for opportunities to do that. So Maggie Clout, I can put you in touch with her if you'd like that. But understand there are concerns of an increasing use of microgrids. According to the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, utility companies are concerned about the increase of microgrids due to loss of revenue, continued infrastructure upgrades, because both microgrids use both. They use energy and they generate energy. So utilities will need to make up for that infrastructure due to the bi-directional movement of that power. But I think utilities are understanding that they need to transition to a new revenue model and create a new revenue stream. So they're looking for partnerships with microgrid owners, and they're offering fee-based services such as microgrid feasibility studies and designs. So, how many of you are familiar with the app called Waze? Let's see if I can actually access the chat versus like the Q&A this time. So I have seen some coming in. Oh, okay. Yep, I see. Is anybody familiar with Waze? See the chat now. Nope. Yes, Daniel, Stasia. Okay, great. All right. I didn't know how much it's being used. That's awesome. In the UK. So that's really helpful. Even those. Oh, okay. So Soccer doesn't know. So really quick, it's crowdsourced navigate. It's a navigation app that you'll typically use for driving. And what I've learned is that there is a company that has taken that methodology and really just applied it to space. So they're using IoT to tie into cities. It's really a smart city sort of tracking mechanism. So they're tying into cities in order to really adapt for retail connections. So from a crowdsourcing perspective, they share information in a three-dimensional position, not relying on GPS, and they just simply rely on that crowdsourced data. So if someone says, yep, I'm at this one retail location, say it's Pret, they can get continued information about what's going on at Pret, what's the volume, what's the traffic, who else is on that street. And there's that capability of having that positioning system associated with it. So they don't actually need to tie into GPS, which is really kind of cool. So, companies that are looking for, supporting their businesses through facilities and looking at opportunities to grow. I used Pret before, but they can go ahead and determine if there's a need for a new shop on a particular street based upon crowdsourcing activity. Similarly, FYSICAL is a marketplace for people movement data, and they essentially just track where people are based upon whatever their IoT device is, their phone, what have you. Peak and demands activity. It could really drive a developer or retail supply chain to make better decisions about where they're going to be located again. So I think those are some really fun applications for IoT and blockchain. Both of those companies, Foam and FYSICAL, are tied into making sure that data is secure. All right. So because I'm in workplace, I get really excited about workplace applications. And I'm just curious, how many of you have used reservable seating technology? Like if you need to go in your office. Oh, Leo has. Okay, Abel has. As much as I've been in this space, I haven't actually used reservable seating technology, but at AmFam, the insurance company where I work, we're getting ready to roll out really clean sensor technology here in the near future. But as you know, there are many other applications for really just tying an IoT to all building operations. And as you can see on this slide, there are a number that iOffice that is, they offer. And many of you are also familiar with IoT sensor technology and the not anymore most sustainable building in the world. They have been renowned as that, but I think Bloomberg has surpassed them. But even so, I think the Edge has been one of the pioneer organizations where the developer and designers decided to include over 32,000 sensors in their facility. PLP Architecture in the UK designed that building, by the way, and I had some very fun interviews with the designers, the leads on my podcast. So if you want more information about that, please let me know. If you put it in the chat, I'll go ahead and make sure that gets distributed. But they've been using blockchain to transact the data from the sensors across that data network, even though they don't talk about that much. Jacob Boersma, who was working in that building, he was working on actually real estate blockchain projects there at the time, and he shared with me about how the blockchain data transactions were taking place, specifically tying into all the sensors. And I mean, the options of data tracking. This is just a snippet of what they were able to collect on their Smart Edge platform. So, but I think in general, due to COVID and the drive to activity-based working and the need to understand like where people are actually sitting in order to stop the spread of pathogens, companies globally are trying to install sensors so that they can manage the shift in operations due to the reduction in employees in the office right now and adjust to changing volumes. Occupancy scheduling, reservable seating, bathroom sensoring to support cleaning schedules, even occupancy to like drive catering decisions, as well as making sure the building operations is, they're running the right air handler in order to support a specific space within the building. These sensors are going to be driving how operations operation and facility managers are running their facilities. So really a big driver, and I like that people are thinking more about sensors, but because we're talking about blockchain, I do want to just kind of shout out here in my PASA. It is a technology, and they're actually working with IBM, where they leverage IoT and support really this collection of data through blockchain for a broad range of applications for different companies, but they are in the smart building real estate space. So there's continued opportunities for securing this kind of data for building and to support operations. Hyper is another company that is driven by passwordless authentication ideals, primarily for like computer access, network access, but they have kind of tiptoed into driving changes in the touchless biometric access space. So whereas you'll have your, face ID, even your eye biometric ID, those are some opportunities that they're working on in order to provide biometric access for facilities to just access, the door access, and then audiovisual controls as well as any, other typical building integrations. They're kind of trying to figure out how to tie that without having to use passwords, but also using multi-factor authentication. So, in conclusion, these are just a few opportunities where a number of companies are driving innovation through blockchain and IoT within smart buildings, microgrids and smart buildings, and really any technology intersections. They're exciting developments, and I hope that you enjoy this presentation. So, shameless plug here. Just wanted to quickly say I do have an event coming up next week, specifically talking about workplace strategies for decision making during COVID-19. If you want more information, go ahead and go to workplaceevents.live, or you can go ahead and scan the QR code. Thanks for the opportunity to share about IoT, microgrids, and blockchain.